Hey everyone and welcome. Today we are diving deep into an educational philosophy that's, believe it or not, over 100 years old, but it might just be the key to our future. We're talking about the Montessori method, and not just as a way to teach, but really as a whole new way to think about learning itself.
So I want you to start with this question. Just for a second, forget everything you think you know about a typical classroom. The rows of desks, the teacher up at the front. Instead, I want you to picture a space where every single thing, from how high the shelves are to the types of activities available, was created with one thing in mind: the child's perspective, their development, and their natural curiosity. That's the huge idea we're digging into today.
And to really get how this all works, we're going to break it down into the three core principles that make the Montessori approach so unique and, frankly, so effective. We'll look at the environment, the idea of freedom, and how it completely redefines the teacher's role.
All right, first up is this incredible concept called the prepared environment. In Montessori, the classroom isn't just a box where learning happens. It's an active participant in the process. Think of it as this carefully, thoughtfully curated space that's designed to literally call out to the child and make them want to discover things on their own.
So what does that actually look like? Well, the child-sized furniture isn't just for looks. It gives kids real physical independence. The materials they use are intentionally beautiful and kept in perfect order on low, open shelves. This creates this amazing sense of calm and respect, and it just invites them to engage. And then you've got the mixed-age classrooms, which is just a brilliant idea. The older kids naturally become mentors, the younger ones have role models, and everybody gets to learn at their own speed.
And this quote from Maria Montessori herself just nails it. This is the ultimate goal. The environment is so well prepared, so engaging, that the kids get completely absorbed in what they're doing. The teacher doesn't need to be constantly intervening. That drive to learn, it comes from inside the child, sparked by the room itself. This idea of an independent learner flows right into our second pillar, freedom within limits. Now, this is probably the most misunderstood piece of the whole Montessori puzzle. You hear the word freedom, and you might picture total chaos, right? But that's not it at all. Here, it's a very specific, very structured kind of liberty. And this slide lays out that balance perfectly. On one side, you have freedom. A child can choose what they want to work on, math, language, whatever, and they can stay with it for as long as they're interested. But on the other side, that freedom is held up by some really clear limits. For example, the work cycle teaches responsibility. You take out an activity, you see it through, and then you put it back exactly where you found it. This respects the materials and the next person who wants to use them. It's not just about rules. It's about building a community where everyone's freedom is respected.
And when you get that balance right, something amazing happens. It builds what's called intrinsic motivation. See, when a child chooses their own work and figures it out on their own time, the reward is that feeling of accomplishment. There are no gold stars, no grades. The prize is the learning itself. And that's how you build a lifelong love for it.
So, that brings us to our third and final pillar, which is all about the teacher's role. If the kids are directing their own learning, you might be wondering, well, what does the teacher do all day? They make a huge shift from being the sage on the stage to being something way more powerful, a guide on the side. The Montessori teacher's job is this delicate, almost scientific process. First, they just watch. They observe a child to see what they're fascinated by, what skills they're trying to master. Then, and only then, when they really understand what that child needs, they present a very specific lesson. And here comes the most important part. They step back. They let the child have their own aha moment, to make their own mistakes and to figure out how to correct them on their own.
So at the end of the day, the teacher is a facilitator. They're a link. Their whole purpose is to connect the child to all of those rich learning opportunities just waiting for them in that prepared environment. They aren't the source of all the knowledge. They're the guide who shows the child how to find it.
Okay, so we've looked at the prepared environment, freedom within limits, and the teacher as a guide. But why does this 100-year-old method matter so much right now, maybe more than ever before? Well, the answer is all about the world we're getting our kids ready for. Just think about this number for a second. It's pretty staggering. A widely cited estimate suggests that 85% of the jobs that will exist in the year 2030 haven't even been invented yet. Let that sink in. We can't possibly teach kids the specific facts they'll need for careers that don't even exist. So what can we teach them? We can teach them how to learn. The skills that are naturally built in a Montessori environment aren't about memorizing facts. They're about process. Things like self-direction, problem-solving, creativity, being adaptable, these are the skills that will actually matter and last, and allow our kids to thrive in a future that's going to be all about change. This right here is the real takeaway.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. In a world that's going to demand innovation, self-motivation, and a real passion for lifelong learning, could an education built on respect for the child that fosters their own independence and curiosity, could that be the very foundation our future requires? It's a pretty powerful question to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.